Hello and welcome. This is Gray Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching.
Richard Allen is bridge guy. 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 I scared myself. No, just kidding. Oh, wow, look at that. Camera's on. It's been moved. It's not on the dogs. Oh, well. Well, how's it going? That was pretty fun last night, wasn't it? Susan Hendricks on here. Yeah, I don't know. Tomorrow's opening arguments, so I know that Court TV is going to be there, and I'm going to be on Court TV tomorrow night at 6. So hopefully before 6, I'll have notes or whatever that was in. That's what's so lame about this, how this works, you know. But if there's anybody out there that went there or something, you know, send me the notes. But apparently they're going to send me the notes also. Hello, Jacqueline. Hello, everybody. Well, not too bad. But, yeah, so, but Plato in the chat, she actually drove by, I think it's in Allen County, the courthouse, and she went there today. So she went to the hearing and took notes, so we can go over what they talked about today up until noon. Thanks, Elaine Tolling. Yes, Richard Allen is bridge guy. Now, if you don't believe that he's the killer, well, he's at least the one that abducted them and brought them down the hill, so he's just as responsible. I should be, David, but I wasn't able to be there. Okay, I had my hotel, everything scheduled, everything planned out and everything the first time they were supposed to have the trial. Then they delayed it, and then life events took place, as I've explained 50,000 times on here, so your comments, you know, a little bit rude once since we've already discussed it, you know, many times. I have a dog that doesn't have much time left, and then also my father's going out of town, and they're in their 80s. He's got to go do something. My mom's at home, and we're going to be taking care of her for a few days. So, you know, I don't need the you should this and you should that. I've already explained it. And I want to be there. I just can't be there. And not only that, even if I was there, I'm not part of a news outlet, and I would have like 1 in 10 shot getting in on a daily basis. All right. So it's kind of like you can spend thousands of dollars getting there and then not even be allowed in, except, you know, I did have some people that were going to try to help me get in regardless. So, you know, just one of those things. Thanks, Elaine Tolling. And Cheryl Bullock. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I don't owe anybody anything, but you always got these clowns that show up and they try to tell you, Gray, you should do this. Hey, you know, Gray, you've never even been there. You know, I've done as much as I could. I mean, I drove all the way there to be in a documentary, to be the one singular voice of reason on an entire documentary filled with a bunch of wackos, okay? I was the only one. And I remember even when I was on there, some of the people that working for the prosecution, one of them messaged me and said, "You nailed it." Because I figured it out, reading the probable cause, exactly the way you're supposed to. You look at it and it makes sense. Yeah, I was one single solitary man acting alone with, let's see, what's a better word? With common sense. Yeah, there's a lot of seats on the hearings at Allen County. Was never there was no problem for anybody getting in. It wasn't difficult. Like all the other days, everybody just, there was even extra seats. And yeah, well, they're not public, and, we're just not going to get to see them, right? So anyways, hey, Plato, why don't you call in? Let's just get going on the hearing today. All right? That would be cool. All right. I'll move to a different screen, maybe this one. Hello, Plato.
Hey there, how are ya?
Not Play-Doh, but Plato, everybody. Like Socrates.
Yeah. Let me pop an AirPod in here and see if this will work.
Why are you getting echo?
Oops, hold on here. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. How is it now?
Yeah, I'm making it. Oh, it was already fine before, but it's on your end, right?
Okay. Okay, I'm not getting an echo, so that's good.
Yeah, I think what happens is people, they're like the speaker, and then it feeds back into the mic, and then you get the echo.
It does, yeah. I had shut my, I had the volume off because I'm like, I'm not gonna mess this up. I had the volume off, but a commercial came on my MacBook, and for some reason that took the mute off and started.
Maybe you could probably just shut down the entire video, like the show, for now.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did. I slammed my lid shut as soon as I heard my echo.
All right, but anyways, you were at the courthouse today. All right.
I was, yeah. I got up at dawn's crack. Got up at 5:30, and went down there. And the everything had said that the hearing was supposed to start at 9 a.m. So I got there at 8:35. Yeah, went through security, and got in the courtroom at 8:45, and they'd already started. So I was like, okay, they must have decided to start early, which was fine. But so when I walk out of the parking garage, I step outside and onto the street. There was Becky Patty and her girlfriend. They were walking to the courthouse too. So after we crossed the street, I said hi to her, and
did you tell them? They told me you were a freak?
Yep, I did. I told her I was one of your moderators, and she told me how much she loved you, and she says he thinks I forget about him, but I don't. I love him. So
that's so nice.
She does. Yeah, she's very very sweet, and I want to make sure.
You've never met her in person, right? But isn't it amazing when you meet her in person? They're just amazing, nice, and good people.
Is she? Yeah, just very, very, very sweet. And there, here she is, just she and her girlfriend. I didn't expect it. I step out of the parking garage door, and there she was. That kind of took me by surprise. But yep, just plodding along and going into the courthouse. So it was kind of nice that she and her girlfriend were ahead of me, because I've been in that courthouse before, but I've never gone into a courtroom where there's anything going on. I've not ever been in trouble or gone or watched anything like that. So I was just watching what they did to get in, to see what I needed to do. And I was all prepared, had, a clear backpack like you'd have like going into a stadium, and didn't have my phone with me, nothing. Went through really quickly. But when I got in there, they were already, court had already started, and they had like the sketch artist guy on the stand. So I couldn't get his name because, they had already started in. But they went through quite a bit with him, both the state and the defense. The state was questioning him first when I went in. I'll try not to be noisy, turning my pages here.
Yeah, she hasn't made her decision on that one yet. That's a weird one because it seems like, I think that's going to be a hard one for the, even though sketches are used for demonstrative purposes and they're not really like, supposed to be a factual piece of information, it seems like you'd want to,
right.
The defense would want to bring it up because Betsy Blair's description, that's what she gave to the police. But the thing is about these witnesses is they're, a lot of times they're being, 3 days later, they're saying, hey, do you remember that you were walking there? Did you see somebody? Oh, yeah. They didn't think, I got to remember somebody. So it's just sort of the recollection in their mind. And based on, I've seen videos on YouTube where they do these experiments and people are so off. It's unbelievable, so.
Yeah, that would be me. I've tried to pay attention before and think, okay, if I had to identify this person, could I do it? And I mean, I've got the attention span anyway of a gnat. And, 3 seconds later, I'm questioning myself, okay, like, were those shoes black or were they boots? Were they black tennis shoes? I would be horrible at it. So anyone that can give a good description is, that's great they can do that because I would flub it up. I know I would. But the sketch artist guy, he sounded like he knew what he was, he was giving him good information. And I believe he was the one, let's see. Okay. First let me go, I'll go in chronological order here so I don't have to jump back and forth. But he was emphasizing that the sketch, it's an investigative tool to point a person in the right direction. It's not for positive identification.
Oh, there you go.
And then the next thing he said was multiple sketches multiplies the suggestive nature, which I thought was
Wait, what was that?
Really
What was that sentence? What was that?
Multiple sketches multiply the suggestive nature.
Right, because that means like there's other people that saw the same person, but their description's different. Right?
Yeah, and you put out multiple sketches like Delphi had, and then people are it's just gonna be suggestive to them, like, oh yeah, I saw this from that one, but not from the other sketch. But and then another point that he made was as the state was finishing up with them, he said it's forensic art, not forensic science, meaning a sketch. Forensic art, not forensic science. And so and then the defense questioned him, and the one thing that I thought was, I don't know, it's kind of rude, but I guess that's defense's job. He was accusing the sketch artist of cheating by showing some of the names that was hard. I don't know the spelling, so I was just trying to catch it. It was a little bit hard to hear in there, but yeah, it wasn't horrible.
I don't really care about the names of people, but like just what they were saying.
Yeah, he said the defense accused the sketch artist of cheating by showing Sarah Carbom the photo of the suspect walking. Okay. I think there was something, it sounded like there was something she must have been trying to describe, and maybe he wanted to confirm, okay, is it this you're talking about?
Well, what sketch was that? Which one of the sketches? Was that the one that was released first?
That one, well, let's see, it was the sketch that he did with Sarah Carbom, but I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not sure. Sarah Carba. I don't think there's an M at the end.
Carba, okay.
Yeah, so the thing is they have so you're saying, so I think there's like 3 or 4, there's a bunch of sketches out there, and we've only seen 2 of them, right? Because there's the one with the beard, the one looks like a hobo. Then there's the one that looks like, Tom Cruise or whatever, the young guy, the young kid, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think there's some others that we've never seen. Because you know the one with the beard, the hobo one. That one
Yeah.
was actually created sort of based on what you see in the video and some stuff that the witnesses saw. So maybe that's exactly what you're talking about right here, because it was actually made. They put the beard on there, and they thought they could see that hat. So.
Yeah, and maybe that is the one. Like I said, they were already, they'd already started talking to him when I got in there, and I thought I was early, but turns out that they started early and I was late. But the sketch artist had said, he said, no, it's not, it's not cheating because the face isn't visible in the photo. What he was talking about was, a part that he was talking about with that Sarah Carbaugh, it was not a part to do with the face. And then the defense's comeback was, well, there's a partial face visible in the photo. And so then the defense was, going over best practices and standards for sketch artists and kind of trying to, just question him on his credentials is what they were doing. But the defense finished up with him by asking him if he did say to Sarah Carbaugh, we can cheat by looking at the picture. And he said, yes, I did say that to Sarah Carbaugh. But I think it sounded like the defense was kind of taking that out of context. And so then let's see here. Let's see, okay. And let's see, as far as okay, so they finished up with him, and he went and sat aside in the courtroom with some other people, and then the jurors were brought in. They were brought in early. I didn't think they were going to come in until later. From what I saw online, it looked like this was going to go all day, but it ended up, I was out of there by noon was when it ended. So the jurors were brought in for the swearing in. I was hoping the jurors were going to be in there a lot longer so that I could take really good notes on them and, just kind of look at each one of them. And
well, what did you see when there were some older people or what?
There's 8 women and 4 men. And they were in the courtroom for a total of 2 minutes. Judge brought them in. They all sat down. She swore them in and then told them to go ahead and get up and follow the bailiff. And they were going to load them up right then and take them straight to Delphi.
Lafayette.
So
I think they're going to Lafayette.
Yeah, exactly.
They have a hotel there.
Hotel. She just said Carroll County, but yeah, they're going to stay in Lafayette. Delphi doesn't have any hotels. But there was probably the oldest person, looked like one of the men, like he was in maybe maybe I'm being generous if I say late 60s. I think he was probably in his early 70s. And one of the other men looked like he was probably in his 40s. And then the 2 remaining men looked like they were both in their 30s. And then there was two females that of the 8 females, 2 of them of the 8 looked like they were maybe in their late 20s. There was a couple of women that looked like, maybe 3 women that looked like they were probably in their 30s, maybe mid 30s. And then there was a woman that looked like she was maybe in her late 50s. And then the last 2 women looked like they were in their late 60s. So from what I could tell, really, there was only 2 people that were younger, like I said, in their late 20s, and the rest were all, to me, looked 30 and up, but mostly 40s and 50s, it kind of looked like. And when they all walked in, they kind of they didn't look scared, but they all looked like deer in the headlights. And I thought, these poor people have no idea what's about to hit them with being sequestered the whole trial. I mean,
What do you do? Like,
I
do they
felt,
give you movies to watch or something, like DVDs or what?
yeah. I mean, because they can't have a TV, no TVs in their room,
Right.
no phone, no tablet, no computer, no newspaper with Delphi news in it. You know, they probably are all going to take games and that. And I think, you know, if they have to make a phone call to their family or whatever, they have to do that in the presence of you know, bailiff or whatever that stays at the hotel with them. But I couldn't do that. I would lose my mind after 5 minutes. I would feel trapped. I couldn't do it. So, you know, I felt sorry for him. Just, you know, they're probably going to be there until Thanksgiving or after. So let's see. And then after the jurors were dismissed, they went back to the motion regarding the sketch artist. The defense wants Sarah Carbaugh's sketch excluded. I believe that's how that went. And this. Okay,
Why would the
the
defense want Sarah? Oh, they want Sarah Carbaugh's, but they really want to get Betsy Blair's in there.
Yeah.
Because Sarah Carbaugh must be one that sort of supports, like, Muddy and Bloody and Richard Allen, and then Betsy Blair's the one that doesn't look like Richard Allen. So they want them.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to. That's the way I wrote it in my notes, and I'm like, I want to make sure I got this straight, because, and I'm thinking of it like from he's a guilty standpoint, because I was thinking, okay, am I understanding this right? The defense wants the one that looks most like him excluded, and they want the one that looks least like him to be allowed.
Right.
So, yeah, and so, okay, so yeah, I did hear that right then. Let's see, the state made a point that, you know, the sketches aren't used to identify, that they should be allowed to be used. However, they don't want the sketches used in opening statements because they don't want those sketches, you know, sketches to imprint on the jury. And their next point was that the sketches are hearsay. And they want, and it sounds like, the state wants that one sketch made irrelevant because they're investigative tools, and you know, and they say they're hearsay. So the judge said she was going to look at case law tonight, and then tomorrow morning we'll give a ruling at court in Carroll County when court.
What did you think that she might say?
I have no idea.
I mean, could you see her look on her face? Did she look like she was?
Yeah, she doesn't give anything away on her face. I don't play poker, but she looks to me like she'd be a good poker player, because nothing about her face gave anything away at all. Unfortunately.
But hold on a second. Hey, freaks out there. Hey, freaks, when you're watching the show, I know we got a guest on Plato, but if you have the ability to support the channel, we're trying to reach the goals every single night on here. And every time I have guests on, usually, or somebody else, that just, you guys are like, right? So let's just try to keep moving forward in terms of getting the goals this month, because you know, at the end of the month we give out money, and it allows me to keep doing the shows every single night. And hey, Plato went out there and got us some good information. I wish we had like nine or 10 different Platos, you know.
I was up at 5:30 a.m. hauling butt down there. My cats are like, you know, I'm not getting up at 5:30 a.m.
Was it a 3-hour drive?
To me.
Was it a 3-hour drive?
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy.
So then, okay, and then the defense, there was, the defense brought up, I don't know if it was a motion or if they just brought it up for discussion, Betsy Blair's deposition. And let's see.
What were they saying about Betsy Blair's deposition?
You know, it was such a short mention of it. I couldn't even hear it, and no one else could either. We were all leaning forward, like hard of hearing people with our ears cupped around the back of our ears, trying to hear what it was that was said. But I think it was tacked on to the end of talking about, the judge saying that she was going to, look over the case law for the sketches, and then she'd give a ruling tomorrow. So it may have just had something, her deposition must have had something to do with that. Maybe something that Betsy Blair said in her deposition. I'm just guessing at that, though, because none of us could hear what was said about it. And then they went over, the judge brought up, to the, mostly to the defense, that about evidence. She was saying that, she can't give jurors a flash drive of evidence for them to, when they go into deliberation, and the attorneys on both sides are going to have to provide evidence in a medium that can be given to the jurors for their use in deliberation. And so the defense was kind of whining about it, that, that they were saying that they didn't want to have to provide evidence for every single thing on a separate medium, that was going to have to be a lot of work, to put everything, each piece of evidence on a separate drive. And of course, the state wants each piece of video evidence on a separate drive. So the defense kind of whined about that a little bit. And the judge she just basically said, that's what you're going to have to do. It is what it is.
So tell me about the Betsy Blair part again. I don't know why they were talking about her deposition.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish
because Betsy Blair to me is
it's got to have something
she's really
to do
important.
With the sketch.
I mean, she's a really important person because, while she was there, her main importance to me is that she passed Abby and Libby. Her recollection of what somebody looked like when she was shown the image of the bridge guy, the photograph relief, she said, "Oh yeah, that's the person I saw." Her recollection though of like the brown hair and all that stuff like that, it's just off. And it is because that is Richard Allen. All right. So the problem is they're going to say, "Hey, that was a different person that just did a magical, shifting chairs. Like there was a guy standing there, and then Richard Allen then jumped into the woods, and then somebody else popped out." Because Richard Allen is that guy. He gets there at 128 parked the vehicle at like 129. He drove by the Hoosier Store at 127. Takes 11 minutes to walk, but more like about 135 he passed the girls. Then it's 11 minutes, so it's 146. He's at the bridge, just like he said. And then Betsy Blair has to run into him next, unless he ran into the woods and some magical leprechaun jumped out and stood in the same spot after that. Right? So that's the whole thing. There's no out for that. So that just means what she remembered seeing was off, just like so many other people are. But anyways.
Yeah. I would be off on that too. Let's see. Witnesses will be kept away from each other. So if they don't want anyone, they don't want them speaking to each other. They don't want them overhearing anything. Let's see. Okay, so the state said they have about 66 exhibits and 45 witnesses. That's the state. This trial is going to take a while. Let's see. The state wants 2 witnesses, which I believe they said are 2 Indiana state troopers, to be exempt from the separation ruling. And the defense argued that the 2 troopers should have to abide by the separation rule, just like the other witnesses. And then the judge ruled that I think she said the name Mullins and Holman will be allowed to assist the state. is what she said. I don't know exactly what that
Assist the
means.
state in what way? You know, I mean, I think they were the main investigators.
Yeah, and she didn't say specifically these two don't have to abide by the separation rule like the other witnesses, but she said it at the end of that. So, you know, she just said, her ruling was Mullins and Holman will be allowed to assist the state. Let's see, and then there was a motion on October 11th regarding witnesses, and the defense said like inmates in jail with Allen as witnesses or police officers who've interviewed jailers where Allen is housed as witnesses. The defense doesn't want these witnesses giving their opinions of Richard Allen, such as like, is he faking? They don't want these witnesses to be put on the stand and the state to, ask them, or for the witness to give their opinion and say, I think he was faking it. I'm in the jail cell next to him. The defense doesn't want that at all, and they don't want police to be able to give their opinions because they were saying, they're not qualified to give an opinion on whether someone is faking it or they're genuine or if they're crazy. Mm-hmm. And then the state said, noted that some of the correctional officers have specialized training to observe behavior, symptoms, etc. And so then the judge ruled on that and said they can testify, but not those witnesses, whether they're an inmate or a jailer or police officer who has interviewed a jailer, more likely. They cannot give their opinion on whether or not they think Richard Allen did the murders. Their statements have to be statements about their observations of his behavior and actions only.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I was going to say something. I just randomly stumbled upon this old, because we were just talking about sketches. There's a guy named Douglas Rice who was kind of a weirdo, but he had a Facebook group. He passed away a little while ago, but he did make some good connections with people and had information that was pretty interesting. I mean, this was from March 5th, I think, even back in, I don't know what year, it doesn't say the year, but I believe it's even at the beginning. And let me just read this thing. It says, for the sake of clarification, I have adminned a small Facebook group since early on and has locals and family. Through these members, I was made aware of two witnesses. One was the daughter of a member, and the other graduated Delphi High School in the same class as one of my local members. After the first sketch was released in July, that's the one with the beard and the golf hat or whatever, in July of 2017, I began to push back on the first sketch simply because by then we had had a conversation with both witnesses who told us they had both shared sketches with law enforcement and both also were not pleased with the first sketch. The main objection was the hat, which now it turns out the hat's totally bogus. It's not. Let's see. I'm just reading through the hat, and the second objection was they both shared that BG was wearing a face covering of some sort, probably that little white squiggly thing underneath his chin. But after 2 years, law enforcement says, forget that sketch. Here's the one to consider. So this must have been in March of 2019. Still no face covering, much younger, and no hat either. And both witnesses have said with no reservation that is not who they saw. I will not go into detail again right here in my explanation. You may agree, but this is no fabrication, and I can say without reservation that BG came and left that day wearing a short-billed hat and a face covering before his nose, and I do not accept any face value that law enforcement tells us, but feel free to do so if you choose. Now they are my sources that come you have rudely demanded, and for the life of me why would anyone not consider that BG would make an attempt to obscure his identity? Blah, blah, the rest of it's cut off, but it's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The whole sketch thing. I mean, that means there's a couple more sketches that are out there.
Yeah, and see, and I guess I realized that there were more than two, but I kind of forgotten about that. When you only see two, I think, there's two, and that's it. There's no more than that. Yeah.
Anyways, I didn't mean to, sorry to interrupt, but I haven't seen that for so long that I figured if I lose it again, I wouldn't find it.
Okay, let's see. The next motion, I didn't know there was going to be so many motions. I thought really the whole time was going to be arguing about that sketch, but, they didn't take nearly as long on that as I thought they would. Okay, and so then the next thing was a motion on IPAS. And so I'm like, okay, I have no idea what IPAS is, but I'm going to take the notes and then I'll look it up later when I get home. But, okay, so just real quick, IPAS is, okay, there was a settlement agreement that prohibits the segregation of seriously mentally ill prisoners for more than 30 days. That's basically what it goes down to. And he's been in solitary. So the state does not want the IPAS case settlement discussed. The defense wants to be able to refer to it or discuss it. Discuss this. It's that IPAS thing. It's a Department of Correction policy with regard to serious mental illness, solitary confinement, and the rights of inmates with serious mental illnesses. So they're saying, okay, if we can't have it included, we want to be able, I think they want to at least be able to refer to it, which that would be dumb. If people aren't going to have any explanation of what IPAS is, they're not going to be able to look it up on a phone like I did. So they say they want the jury educated on mental illness, which that's stupid. But so the state was saying that saying anything about IPAS case settlement would be ridiculous because Richard Allen went into jail when the modified Department of Correction mental health policy was already in place. That settlement was in 2020, and Allen didn't go into custody until 2022.
I mean, what is IPAS? What are you talking about?
It is, IPAS, Indiana Protection and Advocacy Services Commission. So,
I mean, what's the point of? I don't even understand what's it got to do with the trial.
It's for mentally ill. It's for it's so that mentally ill patients aren't kept segregated for more than 30 days, because then it will do mess with their head. And they're supposed to have group therapy meetings, and so this stuff wasn't happening. Is the defense's argument is all these modifications to this settlement, this IPAS settlement, weren't in place, and so Richard Allen's mental health was suffering, being kept in solitary confinement for an extended amount of time, and he's in isolation, and he's not able to go to group therapy meetings and that, which is what the settlement came about, because the mentally ill prisoners apparently weren't getting the treatment that they need to get mentally better than where they were when they enter prison or whatever. And so that's one of their claims, is that Richard Allen is suffering from this,
Here's what's going to happen. The whole insanity thing. I don't really, the whole IPAS shit, all that garbage. Here's what's going to come down to is right before he was doing great. He was exercising. He was doing everything. And then he he found God, and he felt like he wanted to, confess, basically. So he told his wife and his mother, and then and then his wife freaked out and called the attorneys, and by God, if it wasn't the next day and every day for the next few weeks, he's as crazy as a lunatic, right? I mean, that's what it's going to come. I think that's the prosecution side. They already know the timing of everything, and everybody's going to get it, that it's totally bullshit when they say that he was nuts. Okay. So.
Yeah. I mean, and it is kind of pathetic watching the defense. I mean, they're just bringing up, you're like, what the hell does this have to do with it? I've never even heard of IPAS until today. Like I said, I had to come home and Google it and see what it is. I didn't even know how to spell it, but yeah, it's IPAS. I was thinking like, an iZoom pass, like car travel, when you go on toll roads. I didn't know what it was. So basically the judge said the IPAS argument isn't relevant to Richard Allen because he was in custody after this settlement and changes took place. And the defense argued a little bit more with the judge, but then they only argued for about 15 seconds, and the judge just basically said it, shut it down and was like, are you done? And so then, let's see, the defense was arguing for a expert witness, a metallurgist. I think they said his name, he was calling him Mr. Tobin. Spelling, I don't know. They want him to be allowed as an expert witness. The state doesn't. They say, he's not qualified or trained. He's not trained in firearms identification. And the defense gave the judge a copy of Mr. Tobin's CV and went on and had another CV from a Mr. Warren, who was supposed to be referencing Mr. Tobin's expertise in this Mr. Warren's deposition. And I mean, in the defense, they just blathered on and on and on for 45 minutes on this guy. Not the old defense guy. I can't remember. I don't know which one is Rossi or whatever his name is. This was the younger guy with dark hair. I mean, if he goes on like that during the trial, he's going to bore those jurors right into a coma. He went on and on way too long. And there was, let's see, the judge said that, asked if there was anything else because they finished going through all the written motions. The state said they hadn't received all of the defense's expert witness list. They said that there's late disclosures, no disclosures on expert witnesses from the defense. So, and the defense is like, we want to know what the defense expert witnesses, who they are and what they're going to testify to. And the defense complained that, as a retort to that, the defense complained that, well, we didn't get a phone extraction from the state until August 23rd, which, how long ago is that now? So that was kind of a silly argument. But the judge told the defense then those two witnesses, or there are two witnesses that are the digital experts. She said, you mean to tell me, or she might not have said, you don't mean to tell me. Says, are you telling me that you haven't received reports from the two witnesses that are your digital experts? And the defense had said no, and so she basically told him, you need to call those two and get reports. And then the state had something to say that they were about, and the state didn't know what the heck was going on. They said something about a motorcycle gang. Is there something about a motorcycle gang that I haven't heard about? And then this isn't the Odinism thing. They were saying something. The state was confused about it. They were basically saying, we have no idea what that's about. And it didn't seem like really anything came up
I
about
mean, it
that.
might be
and then
something
they
related
thought,
to like Anna or something. I don't know if there was something regarding her connected, like a family member connected to
oh,
a motorcycle gang or something. I don't know, something like that maybe. I think
oh,
I sort of remember
now that
something
you
like
say,
that from years ago.
yeah, now that you say that, that does ring a bell. I mean, I doubt there's anything to it,
Well, there
but it
never
was,
is. It's just garbage. Yeah.
yeah. And then everyone stood up and everybody thought, okay, it's over, we're leaving. And then the one female defense attorney stood up for one last item, and she brought up the Odinism and ritualistic killings and third-party suspects. And so the judge, and it was just a real short, but it was a real short conversation though, and the judge said something about to the defense, that's why those three things were grouped together to expedite. It sounded like it was to expedite this part of the defense argument. So
Is that something that they're going to be able to bring up away from the jury during the trial?
it sounds like
something.
it sounded to me. I'm not sure. I don't want to say. I was taking it that.
Well, I mean, why were they bringing it up at all?
Was,
She already ruled all that crap out of there.
I know, but and I was going through and looking on online, and it did say something in there about Odinism. So I think they're going to allow that to be brought up, but they're, and that's what the judge was saying, is that they're grouping that in with ritualistic killings and third-party suspects. I think it's those three things that are going to be grouped together. It's not going to be, that's the way it sounded to me, but I'm no legal expert by far. But that's
But she already ruled out that they can't use Odinism and all that stuff.
But I think it's going to be allowed to be mentioned, because my husband said something to me, and he's like, I think they're allowing the Odinism thing.
Oh, they might be allowing Odinism, but not suspects. I think that's what's going to happen. They'll be able to say, hey, look at these are ritualistic runes, and there's no evidence that Richard Allen was ever part of Odinism, so yeah, but they won't be able to bring up the suspects connected to in the Frank's memorandum. See, she was against the Odinism and the third-party suspects element of that by bringing up, Westfall, all these different people. And so what they're doing, I think now, is they're just going to allow the concept of Odinism, because, I mean, and other sort of ritualistic things, because they still have that one expert that might point out that. That's what I think. Even though there's not a person they can associate, it might make the jury go, maybe there is somebody else out there.
Yeah, I'll bet you're right on that. I'll bet you're right on that. And then let's see, I got to briefly meet Susan Hendricks and talk to her. And I told you that. Then I thanked her for coming on the show last night. That was really enjoyable. And I told her I was one of your moderators, and she goes, "Ooh, I've never met one before."
Yeah.
So that was funny. But so when I went in there, I sat in the back row. I walked in just behind Miss Becky and her girlfriend, and I kind of stood at the back for a minute, kind of waiting to see where I wanted to sit. So I didn't even really see the little troll man right away. I just was looking for a seat, and so I sat down. And then once I sat down and I looked up, I realized I had the perfect direct line of view to him. There was no one in my way. I was about 20, maybe 30 feet away from him at the most.
I mean, how are you having a direct line at his face? Because they're everybody's facing forward, right?
They had him. They had them sideways. You can't see my drawing. I did a horrible chicken scratch drawing of the.
So in there, like the audience,
so
you're at like a 45-degree angle, kind of, right?
The judge and her clerk are, directly, facing me. The state was in between the judge and her clerk, and the audience with their backs. The state had their backs to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the right side of the courtroom was the defense, and they were facing the other side of the courtroom, which would be the jury box, and that would have been on my left. So Richard Allen, defense on the right, jury box on the left, jury box and defense facing each other.
So they're kind of like at a 45-degree angle to you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right.
So I could see him perfectly, and I sat down and kind of got my stuff settled there, and looked up and did a stare down with him. I saw him looking at me, and I did as hard of a prison stare down as I could. I didn't look away. I just gave him kind of just a blank.
So he was looking at you, though.
Yes. And I stared at him until he looked away. I thought, F you, I am not looking away first, you piece of shit. So we did that about 2 other times.
But what are you doing? We don't even know if he did it, Plato. Gee.
I know, and then the second time after I did it, I thought, I wonder if he could legitimately be able to complain that I was doing that. I mean, I wasn't making faces. I didn't look mean at him. I just had a blank stare at him. I just wasn't looking away. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, that's okay. If they ask me to leave, I'll get up and leave quietly. With that. But we did that 3 times, and each time I stared until he looked away first. But there was lots of other times we made contact, but he didn't. He looked away pretty. He didn't stare for very long. But he's.
What is he like? What is he like? Is he just kind of fidgety, or what's he do?
No, he was. His head was shaved, but not shaved bald. He had a little bit of stubble all over. Mm-hmm. He wasn't fidgety. He had a pair of reading glasses that he wore up on kind of his
top of
hairline.
His head. Why does he even have those things?
He never used them. He never wrote anything down. I never saw him write anything down. If he did, I didn't see him. Usually you'll see defendants writing notes or maybe passing them to the lawyer. I never saw him do anything like that. But he had on a long sleeve casual shirt. It was blue with darker blue stripes on it. And he didn't have any facial hair. He did look around a lot, but he's got no expression most of the time. It's just kind of a blank expression. When he looks at you, it's a cold stare, and from if someone will look at you from across the room, and you're not sure if they're looking at you, and you kind of look behind you. You're like, are they looking at me, or are they looking at someone behind me? When he looks at you, he's looking at you. There's no mistaking it. That's the way his eyes are. You don't think, oh, he's looking at the person in front of me or beside me, whatever. You can tell when he's looking at you, and it's creepy enough that I was looking at that and thinking that's what those girls saw is that look, that's a horrible thought. He's got a short neck and narrow shoulders. His weight looks normal. He wasn't thin. He wasn't fat. He just looked very normal. He is not a big person at all. And when he was sitting down in the chair at the defense table, all his lawyers sitting next to him, even the women, they were all, it's obvious they were taller than he was.
Yeah, well, he's short. He's short, but he was once bigger and stronger. And that was back in 2017. Then he let himself kind of wither away. Yeah.
Yeah. I expected to see him real thin, in that picture we saw with the spaghetti sauce stain on his shirt. Mm-hmm. He's not that thin.
Yeah,
he is not that thin.
Well, yeah, he's healthier now. They've been saying.
Yeah, he doesn't blink a lot. He goes long periods of time without blinking, and remember that one picture that you show? I can't remember what's in the background of the picture, but he's got like a furrowed brow in a picture.
Yeah.
I think it was when he was sitting in the car looking at
yeah,
the phone,
yeah.
and his wife walked up, and then whatever was on his screen, he turned it off or whatever, and he looked away from the camera. That's a look that he has a lot. He did a lot of furrowed brow. But I think that must be normal with him, because he did do that a lot. He did do a little bit of rocking back and forth, but not much and not for very long. He did a little rocking back and forth, like about 3 times, but he didn't do it for very long, and just those 3 times. And it wasn't big or fast rocking back and forth. It wasn't a big movement, and it wasn't like a fast frequency. It was just kind of slow for a little bit. It was just it was just noticeable to me, because I'm not one to sit and rock back and forth. And then he didn't take any notes. He shows, when you look at him, he shows quite a bit of white around the eye, like above the iris part of the eye, the color part. You see quite a bit of white on his eye, just when he's just sitting there normal. I don't know what that is, but he definitely, I don't know if he's medicated or if he is a person who stares a lot. But if he's not medicated, he definitely has a psychopath stare, where they just stare for long periods of time at people. Because he didn't just stare at me, he's looking at lawyers and that, talking, but he does do a lot of that psychopath stare. And at one point, it was shortly before noon. It was around 11:20. Yeah, I wrote 11:20. He interlocked his hands, clasped his hands together, like, and interlocked his fingers. Like in
I'm actually
not
doing
with
that
his
right
hand,
now.
not with his fingers pointing up. But I can't see you. But
yeah.
Interlocking your hands in a fist, not with your fingers pointing up in the air, but interlocking your hands, and then put his head down. Like, I don't know if he's trying to make people think if he was praying or what, but he did that. He looked down with his hand and had his head down at his clasped hands for. It was like, I don't know, maybe 45 seconds, something like that. But the one thing I was really looking for is I wanted to see how tall he was, since I was, there were people in front of me that were closer to him, but I was pretty darn close. I was like, 20, 30 feet at the most. So when everything was over and everybody stood up, I wanted to see how tall he is. I am 5'4", and I'm telling you, that man is no more than 5'4". I think he could be. I felt like when standing up, if I was right in front of him, I wouldn't be 100% eye to eye. I think I might be looking down at him slightly. I think he could be as short as 5'3", but I feel maybe more like 5'3.5". But he is absolutely 100% no taller than me, and I'm 5'4". So
yeah, that's what they say, 5'4", 5'5".
Yep, he is no more than 5'4". And I didn't have. I had a pair of tennis shoes on, and they weren't stacked tennis shoes. I didn't, and I'm sure he probably had some kind of, just regular. He was in street clothes, so he probably had street shoes on, tennis shoes, or whatever they allow him to have, something slip-ons with Velcro, I guess, so he didn't hang himself with his shoelaces, unfortunately. But that's pretty much it.
Wow, a lot of detail there. Pretty good.
Yeah. I was really hoping to get more detail on the jurors. I wanted to sit and get a real good look at them, but 2 minutes. I mean, they were in and out so fast. So I wish those people left.
Well, just your memory.
I do what they're doing.
Were there some older
What's
ones? Like, how old was the oldest ones in there?
The oldest one looked like one of the men, and he looked like he was late 60s, early 70s.
Hmm. Well, it sounds like the defense withdrew their motion to have them go down to the crime scene. So
Oh, did
that's
they?
not gonna happen.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, so not gonna they're and I think it's just from all they were like, oh, we didn't think of that. There, I guess there's a whole bunch of stuff like let's see, the bridge now has a paved area that goes all the way out, so that's different. The
Hmm.
whole path is paved. The trees are totally different, and it's also kind of dangerous to just kind of have all these people try to get down there. And there's really no point to it.
Yeah.
I think people do it just to see and try to have something to bitch about later because it's just ridiculous. Like in the Idaho 4 case, why do you need to go there? It's like it's been filmed a million times with all these different, Faro scans and everything. It's 2 years later. You don't need to keep this house up with blood all over it. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't know. I'm just not. I know there's this whole thing about visiting the crime scene, but there's a certain
Yeah.
point where it's like, yeah. I mean, if there's a murder in downtown and 3 years later, does everybody pile up and go walk down there, even after there was construction? And I don't know.
Yeah.
There's just things
Yeah. I guess.
that just bug me.
Yeah. I guess first of all, if I was a juror, I would want I would want to go just because I'd want to get out of that courtroom and out of the hotel.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. You want to get out of the courtroom, but there's nothing to. I mean, I guess I mean, the other thing I would do is just drive them to where they were dropped off, and then show the rest of it with drone footage and all this other stuff because it's like it's not just sort of
Yeah.
this place you can just walk to.
But can't on the where they have like the the new where the bridge was the
Yeah,
old part of it.
but they
Isn't
could stand there, but
that's like new up to a certain point, right? And then just beyond that, you can still see the
yeah,
old trestles, right?
yeah, but I mean, there's really no point to it. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, well, I don't
Yeah.
really
If it were me,
understand
I
it.
would want to see it, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just more like an interesting thing that people want, but there's no value to it. It doesn't add to
Yeah.
like, oh wow, I now understand. Yeah, really, what matters is
Yeah.
just sort of the timing. It places Richard Allen over there, because I mean, what would you get out of it? Like, so the thing is, you're there
Yeah.
and you're like,
Right.
oh wow. Well, okay, the guy on the bridge crossed the bridge, so regardless if you thought it was creepy, on the bridge, it's irrelevant because that guy made it across the bridge, and so did the girls. So they made it across,
Yeah.
and so I guess you might say, well, if you're there, you might be able to think of it as something that was like like somebody would have to be familiar with it to get across. But that's not even true either because like Beth that was in the Baba that's in the chat, she just went there the first time and got across in less than 4 minutes. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you
I
would
think-
get from
yeah.
it, I guess,
Yeah. Maybe I'm thinking, as a juror, if they gave us the opportunity or said, "Do you want to go?" I would say, "Yeah, I want to go." But just as, not a juror, just whatever. I really have. At one time I thought, yeah, I'd like to go see, see what it's like down there at the bridge. But as time has gone on, I don't ever have any desire to go there. It just is. I feel icky to me. I really, I don't ever want to see it. I think if I drove by on the highway, in fact, I know I would not stop and go there. I just wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But really, yeah. I mean, going there to the crime scene, it's not going to help solve anything. What's going to solve it is he confessed. He was there. The timing was right. People saw him. He was bloody. The girls were murdered. He did it.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to do it.
And also the terrain is totally different this time of year with the leaves still being on the trees, and it's totally way thicker, and it's just not really a good representation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the leaves are starting to change here a little bit. You know, like the maples are always the first to change. So those are turning red. We are getting the leaves changing, but they're not going to be, you know, the leaves won't be the foliage situation in November. You know, those people are going to be there till Thanksgiving or maybe after that. The
I think the trial's
in
going to be over
November
in 3
isn't
weeks.
going to be like what it was in February. There's no way.
Yeah. Well, the trial's going to be over like in 3 weeks. I mean, she's even shortened it in her, like, you know, thinking it might be shorter. But there are a lot of witnesses for sure. So.
Yeah, you know, you figure, you know, some of those states got 45, I say 44, 45 witnesses. Figure some of those witnesses, there's got to be some of them where it's going to be like one witness the whole day.
Yeah.
You know.
See, my thing is like people just want to go to. I mean, like everybody's like, oh, I want to go to the crime scene. Look at there's photographs and videos and Faro scans and all these different things that you can look at and see it better than it would be going there 7 years later when it doesn't even look the same. It doesn't do anything. I mean, I'm just saying, you know, like whenever I look at these videos that were filmed in, I'm just reading the chat, like in, you know, you see them in March, it looks exactly the same. So those ones that we did early on, that's exactly what it looked like back then. But if you go there now, it's just like, I don't know, understand. It's just more of a morbid curiosity, I think, by a lot of people, because it doesn't do anything. I mean, I'd like to see it too. That's just because, you know, like when I went there, I tried to walk around to get to the spot and fly my drone over there. But, you know, it's just more like a curiosity. It has no value whatsoever in a case like this. Like, I don't understand what the, like, ooh, wow, how would he been able to? It's just, I don't know. That's kind of what I look at it. You know.
The only thing I think it might be good for is, you know, if people could see the distance, you know, when they get as far as they can on the bridge, you know, the new part there where you can't go any further.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, if they're pointing out to them, okay, around the curve.
It's all
over
overgrown
there
now, too. Like, you can't even see the other side because the trees and everything are covering all the way over.
Yeah. And I think that's, you know, the one thing that they could see, okay, yeah, but as far as the distance, there's, from here you can't even see. So what even could we hear?
But you know that, like my drone footage that I did with the 360, isn't that even better? I mean, like you just fly the drone around, you can look around and you can show them, here's where the crime scene was, and here's from above, here's where the bridge is. You go over there, and it just seems like you get a better grasp of it. Like when you're just sort of...
the drone is great. I mean, that really gives a great aspect of how far it is, especially when you can turn it around 360, and those are great. They really are. That's probably the best way for them to see it, or for the jurors to see it, is from drone footage. It just makes me wonder how good the evidence, or exhibits like that are going to be for them.
There's probably a lot of amazing, like tons of video that none of us have ever seen that they took at that time, and probably even walked the bridge, went down the hill. I bet they did the entire route that they tracked them walking, right? I bet they filmed it, walked all the way down there, and they'll show you what it looked like at the time. And I think, I mean, I guess, if you went down there this time of year, it doesn't even look the same. It's not even really possible. I mean, if they waited until, I think it's like November, December, January, February, part of March, and early April, it still has, the leaves aren't really on the trees, And so that would be the only time that you could maybe get people to go there, where you could have a mildly similar experience. But anyways, I mean, there's some cases I understand the value of going to the crime scene so that people can look and go, wow, is that even plausible? This isn't one of those. This is just, got a gun, have them go down the hill, walk this way, go across the creek, and then up, and then you get out there and the water's, it just rained the next day and the water's high. They go, oh, how would they get across that? Well, everybody, jury, the water was lower on the day that they were there, but then, You know, and then it just
Yeah.
kind of makes a false impression. You just got to go with what it shows on the videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, you are right about you are right about that, because you show people something, and and they're not going to hear you saying the water was only just ankle deep that day.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to see the water as it is now, knee deep.
Yeah.
And they're just going to disregard what they hear and remember what they see, and so yeah.
I don't know. There's stuff like that. There's stuff like that. I mean, I'd want to see it. Want to see it. It's just, did I need to see it?
Yeah.
I think that's what the trial they're deciding is like. Do you need to see it really, or is it just what you'd want to see? Yeah.
Yeah. Has that been decided? That's for sure. They're not taking them.
What was that last question? Somebody wrote something to me. What was that?
Oh, it's okay. Is it for sure? Have they decided they're absolutely not taking them?
Yeah, well, they withdrew their request. The defense did.
Okay.
So I think that means that they're not going there.
Okay.
Because I think they just wanted to see what the reaction. I don't know what they were doing when they wanted to do that. Because what were they going to try to sell to people?
Yeah.
Like, because I think they even wanted to take them there in a late summer month, early fall, so it looked totally different, and be like, wow, look how hard it would be to get through here. I mean, those girls could have ran and got through the woods, and he wouldn't have been able to find them. But that time of year, when in February, it's literally like these poles are trees, and that's it. There's nothing else, just branches on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Completely wide open down there.
Yeah, someone would have a hard time hiding. You'd be able to spot and hear someone running through the woods. That wouldn't be difficult. But that's it. That's what I got. I am gonna try when I get back in town after next week at some point. I am gonna try.
Yeah.
Like I said, it'll be a worthless trip down there. I won't get it. But I am gonna try. Now that I have the time to be able to do it, I'm gonna try just once. Go down there, see if I can get in. If I can't,
well, too bad you can't try tomorrow, because tomorrow's the day. Like, all I need is tomorrow, because tomorrow has the opening arguments, and the opening arguments are really the whole case, and then they spend the entire time proving what they told them in the opening arguments.
Yeah, I wish I could. It's one of my daughter's birthdays tomorrow.
Come on, they'll have another birthday next year, Plato. Come on, let's.
No can do. I know that.
I'm just kidding.
Believe me, I'm tempted to, and but I am one of the days very soon. I am gonna go down there, and I think, like I told Amber Maiden, that if nothing else, it'll be good people watching, because I think the people activity outside the courthouse is going to be quite different there than it was in Allen County. I mean, basically Allen County, there was nobody out there. People didn't, nobody was standing out there. There were media crews standing out there with cameras, like 6 of them. That was it. There was nobody hanging around. Nobody with signs, nobody picketing, nobody yelling anything. It was just quiet downtown. Mm-hmm. So I think it could be very interesting, people watching down there.
Cool. Well, man, thanks for doing that for us. Really good.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Be a roaming reporter.
What's that?
You can be a roving reporter.
Yeah, I know. I've never done anything like that. I had no idea what to expect. Had absolutely no clue at all. And it really didn't take any time at all to get into security. I thought, somebody would question, like, what are you doing here? What do you want? There was none of that. I just
there were
had to go
seats available, right?
And,
like, there were seats open and things like that.
There were, well, I counted. I was one of 27 people sitting in the audience, and then two more people came in late. But there were tons of chairs available.
Right. So that's what you wish that would be like that, and at the in Delphi, but it's not even going to be. It's not nowhere close to that.
Yeah. I wish, because then I think I would have pretty good odds then, because I could get up early and go camp out. I got my winter gear from Alaska. I can tough it out in the cold for long hours.
Maybe they'll set some chairs up out there. I mean, I don't know. There is space in the back of that room in Delphi where they could put some chairs. So who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna try it once, and all I can do is try, and if I don't succeed, then, it is what it is. So that's it. That's what I got.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It was very good.
You're welcome very much.
And tell your daughter happy birthday. Only 2 days after mine.
I
All
will.
right.
Yes, yeah. Well, and then our other daughter, her birthday's on Monday.
Oh, wow.
So
That's crazy.
we've got them. But yeah, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, and it's the daughter that you saw. I can't remember.
I think I barely
We were
saw
getting ready to
her,
do
yeah.
a moderator meeting, and she was. Yeah, it's her birthday tomorrow. So.
Oh, cool. Say happy birthday.
She's a good kid.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome.
I'll tell her.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling in.
You're welcome. See ya.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye bye.
Plato. Plato, not Play-Doh, but Plato. Yeah, so in the Delphi case, early on, I made some video, my Flow of the Crime video, and Robert Ives, the prosecutor, said if they made an arrest soon, maybe they could use me to make some graphics for them for their trial. But that never happened, so that never took place. And so that's the only. I do think that some of my work they've seen, and maybe it's given them ideas for what they're going to present. So I think the stuff that I've done with the probable cause timing here, I wouldn't be surprised if they have something kind of similar. Hopefully they do something like that animation that I've got. This thing right here. This is it. You just play this up on the screen. You got the 3 girls right there. They're at the bench at 126 taking a photograph. Then just after that black car right there, that's Richard Allen's car, goes zipping by the Hoosier Hardware store at 127, parks at probably 129-ish. He gets out of the car, walks this direction, passes those 3 girls at about 135. Then he walks all the way down to the bridge. And in the meantime, right when he's about to get to the bridge is when Betsy Blair is pulling up, gets out of her car, and heads right to the bridge. And guess what? If Richard Allen got there at 1:46, 11 minutes is a quick walk there, he would have had to sprint, and he would only be like right here, and Betsy Blair would have passed this guy running. But she didn't. Betsy Blair walks to the bridge, and there he is. But in the meantime, right after Betsy Blair gets out in yellow here, that white car pulls up and drops off Abby and Libby, who then walk down the trail slowly because they're just there to, walk around, take pictures. And Betsy Blair is hustling, but then she passes them right there, and Abby and Libby are going to run into Richard Allen right after that. And then Betsy Blair is effectively clearing the trail. Richard Allen's nowhere to be seen. And she leaves, and she takes off, and at that moment, the only people in the park are Richard Allen and Abby and Libby, and this is where he took their lives over there, right? So it's so clear. There isn't really, it's not difficult to see. There isn't some other guy that hopped out of the woods, some hobgoblin, all right? But hey, you guys, right now we're only at a quarter of a nightly goal. And it usually happens whenever I bring a guest on or we're reading something. So if you guys have the ability to help support the channel tonight, we try to make the goals on a nightly basis. Thanks, N-Bell up there. And that's what we use, because this channel, as opposed to all the other channels out there, we have given $216,165 over the last 5 years since the beginning of the pandemic, and that's what we've given to various true crime related charities, including our DNA fund that we finally just funded for this year, and we've already got a few people that have applied for it. And then we also have a DNA fund that we've put over $90,000 in for identifying Jane and John Does, and that comes out of the income from the channel, including ad revenue and the super chats, etc. So it's whenever we have nights like this that are really slow, it sort of sets back then you have to try to catch up. All right, so if you guys have the ability to, I would appreciate you supporting this channel because we actually make a difference. Yeah. Yeah, so basically when you look at this right here, there's Richard Allen. Let's go back to this part way back here. The three girls, then Richard Allen walks by them. And I got to go back to the other screen. Right here. And he's down there. All right, and then Betsy Blair shows up, and he's exactly where you would expect him to be. And Betsy Blair literally sees him there. He is where you would expect Richard Allen to be because he pulls up, and from this spot right here, it takes 11 minutes. So he would be right there probably around 1:46, 1:44 at the earliest. Betsy Blair gets out of her car at 1:47. That means he would have to sprint to get past her, and he didn't. He was just sitting there. So she goes there and then turns around immediately 50 feet away and then passes Abby and Libby, who had been dropped off prior to that. And hopefully you guys heard what I just said, because we are just one of those really struggling nights for no particular reason at all. What is as the man? What does that even mean, man? Thank you, Annabella Roma. This account. In Bell. I know the trials finally happened. Tomorrow I'm going to be on Court TV at 6 o'clock regarding it, so I'm hoping that I'll have some good updates on the opening arguments before then. It should. I mean, the opening arguments are in the morning. I can't imagine them taking the whole day, so are they going to start the trial, or is tomorrow only opening arguments? Why do you keep saying the same thing to Neil Brown? Why do you keep saying that over and over again? It's not selling anything to anybody. Jessica, the sketches were used by the state. Why do they want them thrown out? The second sketch hurts their case is why. That's bullshit. I don't think he's innocent, but it's being sus. No, really what it is sketches are a joke, okay? Very rarely does a sketch look like the person. Okay, so what the defense is going to try to do is use somebody's vague memory from 3 days later and say, look how it's not him. Okay, that's what they want to do. I think the judge, though, has a tough decision to make, though. And they use them just to say, hey, if you know somebody look kind of like this, look at it. Okay, but I think it's funny when people like you at the end say you don't think he's innocent. You do too. Okay, you're the people that fight so hard for these little tiny things, they think he's innocent. I just want a fair trial, Gray. That's the truth. Yeah. That dog actually looks like Chloe a little bit. Little puppy paws. One of those sketches were to maybe see if they were more suspect. No. The first sketch that was released was one that law enforcement made by looking at the video and then using some information that witnesses said. That's what they got. The second sketch released was one that Betsy Blair came up with like a couple, 1 or 2 days later, but from 50 feet away at somebody that's looking at her from the side. She came up with what she thought she saw, and yet when she looked at the video image that was released, that was, she said, yeah, that's the guy I saw. So Betsy Blair is kind of a critical sort of this defense witness, and, kind of just, I'm not sure where she's at, She's the one that seems so adamant to put out a younger sketch, I think he's guilty as hell, Wanda. Yeah. Just like you thought OJ was guilty. Just like you thought Casey Anthony was guilty. Yeah, I always think it's funny when these little yahoos come into these shows and they pretend that they're holier than thou. They're like these great thinkers. Yes, everybody, it's innocent until proven guilty. Yeah, and the reality is every other case you've gone on and said that somebody, you knew that they were guilty and you said that they were guilty and you had no doubt they were guilty. I feel exactly the same way in this case regarding Richard Allen. Okay, Richard Allen is the bridge guy. There is no doubt that he is bridge guy. The fact that he's bridge guy, though, means that he's the one that at least abducted Abby and Libby and brought them down the hill. Okay, they found a bullet at the crime scene that matched the ejection marks of his bullet. Now you might go, well, that's junk science, blah, 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 blah. They're going to show that it matches the ejection marks. Then he confessed early on using information that only the killer would know. And then later, I think he confessed multiple times, intentionally trying to make it look like he's just this crazy person throwing it out there by the advice of his attorneys. I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous. Whatever it is whatever it is. There's a lot of really dumb people in society. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people that show up in these chats, if they were on the jury, they would find a way to make Richard Allen innocent because they have confirmation bias and want him to be, so they can go, look, and he wouldn't be innocent, he would just be not guilty. So you'd be one of those people, like if I could take 10 of the people in here right now and they'd find him not guilty, and they had reasonable doubt on stuff that's not reasonable. That's what sucks, is there's people out there that have a standard of what is reasonable doubt that is not reasonable to any sane person. That's why. Okay, you guys, currently we're only at 33% for the show, all right? So if you all together help support the channel tonight, we can easily make it. Should be very simple. Let's see, I'm trying to get this... It just seems like there's no waves where everybody's helping and then we keep moving. Just kind of dies and then... Yeah, people don't use common sense anymore. They don't use common sense. I mean, just look at this right here. Richard Allen lives right here. That day, he drove this direction. Then he turned right here. Then he drove like this and around, and he goes right to... passes the cemetery, Mears property, Hoosier Harvest Store, parks right there. Gets out, passes, 3 girls. They saw him, he saw them. He walks this way. And then he gets to the bridge. After he gets to the bridge, Betsy Blair comes out. She sees him, turns around, passes Abby and Libby right here. Then she walks this way. Exercises, comes back, doesn't see a soul. That means Richard Allen didn't go back that way during that time. He's where the girls are, and nobody else saw him at all until Sarah Carbaugh perhaps saw him walking down the road right there. This might be one of those shows that I have to cut short to go make a video on a different case. Been trying to reach the goals on these shows, but it's definitely not happening at this rate here. Juries usually take their duty very seriously. Yeah. Why did Betsy not warn the other girls? Why would she? She's just walking. Why would she think that? Oh, you don't have to, Plato. You came on as a guest, but thank you. Appreciate it. Koniani lunch $1 for today since the hearing didn't go all day. Well, thank you. Betsy was definitely suspicious about something. How do you know, Willie? Why was she? How do you know she was suspicious about it? You don't know. She didn't turn around. William. Where does it say she turned around? All it said was she walked by Abby and Libby, and that's it. There's no turning around mentioned anywhere that I saw. Ah, Jesus. Oh, boy. Thanks, N. Bell. Absolutely agree. Great. What's this thing? Witnesses. His friend with Kelsey will now say nothing about all this, but she was talking at first as well, but independently they both mentioned the scarf over the lower part of the face. Yeah, exactly. My friend spoke with him shortly afterwards. He said nothing about that. We may have been missed if it was just his pants, but he will see him at Christmas and will really question him now. The other witness is in his younger brother's class, so it's a him. I don't think that was really a witness. And is friends with Kelsey and will now say nothing about all this, but she was... you know what I wish I could find is my... the Keegan Kline, Anthony Schatz's profile was mentioned to me in March of 2017. And also, other people too. Meet there Tuesday. In the information it showed her turning around. Where? What information, William? What information? In the animation it shows her turning around. I know. She just turns around and walks past the girls. She doesn't look back. I'm not sure what you're talking about. You gotta... That doesn't make any sense. It's just like this. I'll just tell you the whole thing. This is the main part of the case that you're going to be seeing, everybody. It's right here. Okay? So let's do it again. At least it's visual, so it's not as boring. There was 3 girls. There's actually a 4th. So pretend there's a really small little ball with this group here. She's like 9 years old, right? The rest of them were teenagers. So those 3 girls were at the bridge at 12:43. One thing you might consider is that means they were over here probably at 12:20, right? So everybody focus, all right? Zozo, everybody, Plato, everybody, let's... Oh, jeez. Cindy, you focus in on the ones that are conspiracy people. Hey, thanks, Tracy Harrison. Okay, so 12:43 right here, and then all the way over here, they must have got there at 12:20-ish, right? So right here, see that? So I'm not talking to you, I was talking to Cindy. So right here, there's 12:20 right here, right? And Richard Allen's second version, he said he got there at 12 and left at 1:30. So these girls effectively prove that he wasn't even there during that time, because they didn't see anybody. They just walked, and then it took them a long time. They were just hanging out doing stuff. And then at 1:26, they make it right here to a bench. And this is the Hoosier Harvest Store right here. See this building? That's the Hoosier Harvest Store. They're there at 1:26. And then just after that, see that black car zipping by right above them? It's kind of small. That's Richard Allen's vehicle that drove by there at 1:27. So 1 minute after those girls were right there taking a picture, he drove by. They literally could hear the car drive by up there. Ah, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Glam Dolly. Oh, my God. You guys are so paranoid. It's scary. So anyways, where the car parked right there, Richard Allen gets out, right? And those girls are continuing to walk because they're leaving now. And they finally see somebody, anybody, like a male. This is a male they saw as he comes in exactly when he said he came in. And guess what? He told Dan Doolin that when he got there at 1:30, he parked his car by an old building. He said it, the Farm Bureau building, but then later said an old building. And they believe it's this building right here, which is the only thing that makes sense. There's an abandoned CPS building. So he goes and he passes those girls. He saw them, and they saw him. And he continues to walk, and he says he went to the bridge after getting there. And it takes 11 minutes to walk there. That would put him there at about 1:46. Amazingly, Betsy Blair, She gets there at 1:47 and gets out of the car. So that means he'd have 1 minute to sprint past and be over here somewhere, way over here, for her not to have seen him. But she gets out and she walks down, and guess what? Richard Allen is exactly where you'd expect him to be. He was only there for about 6 or 7 minutes before Betsy Blair got there. Then she turned around after seeing Richard Allen and then passes Abby and Libby right here. Okay, you see that? And then she ends up continuing to walk and then eventually gets back to her car. And this is my guess. I think Richard Allen walked out a little bit, watched what they were going to do, and then followed. And so right there you see the blue dot is now following the two girls across the bridge. And then Betsy Blair gets into her car, and just as Richard Allen is taking the girls down the hill and the video ends, Betsy Blair is driving away. And at this moment, there isn't a soul in that park anywhere other than Richard Allen, Abby and Libby, and now he takes them across, and this is where they were killed over there. All right? So how can it not be Richard Allen? So you'd have to pretend that from the 12 to 1:30 story that he told is correct, and that he saw 3 other girls that just didn't see him, even though they made eye contact, and they've never come forward at this point. But here's the thing. When Richard Allen drove by here at 1:27, it matched his vehicle driving by. What I want to know is, did it drive back that way on the way home? Because I don't think you'd want to drive through town looking like that. Like, you wouldn't want to go over here, go through town, just at all, because there's people. So to me, it seems like he would try to find a way to go back the same direction he came, drive this way, and then go, I think it's, which one is it? Yeah, right here. Comes down there, and then across, then right back to his house. It's a 10-minute drive. I've made that drive. I've done it. Well, we're still only about 40%, you guys. 40%. Not even that. We're at 35 or something. No, but you're wrong, William, when you said that's what I meant when he turned around. That still doesn't make any sense. She didn't turn around because she noticed something. She went to the bridge, and she's just there to exercise. She turned around because she got to the start of the bridge and turned around and went the other direction. So I don't know what you're saying when, she must have turned around because she noticed something. No, she didn't notice anything. She just turned around. No, he just said they didn't know Glam Dolly because they thought maybe Keegan Kline and those guys were involved. Isn't it just obvious? I mean, what's so weird? Why can't people say something? He just said, anybody that's involved, because they thought when he was arrested, they still believed that the Klines had something to do with the reason he was out there. Okay? Keegan Kline. And it turns out that they could find no connection. So now they wouldn't say that. They would say he was a lone actor, even though at the time they believed that Keegan Kline might be involved, just like everybody else. I still think that there's a possibility that Richard Allen figured out some element of like Libby and Abby being there by somehow having access to the Dropbox account, but sort of analog, where it's just him seeing it with his eyes or somebody telling him something. And I'd like, what they should probably do is see who each of the people know that were found to be in the ring. Something like that. I don't know. But it just could be that, it sounds like they think that he went there and he targeted Abby and Libby. They actually thought that early on. Do they still think that now? Or do they think he was just there hunting and Abby and Libby fell into the trap? That was my original theory years ago. until they arrested Keegan Kline. Welcome, David Mock. So do I have to dance a jig tonight, you guys? Is that what this is? A jig dancing? Let me see if this camera's fixed. Nope. No, she was just there to exercise, William. But yeah, I mean, it could be. You know, I mean, I'm just saying, she was there to exercise. She wasn't there to look at fish. So she probably wanted to walk to the bridge, and you know, maybe you're right. Like maybe she was going to walk out onto the bridge a little bit and look at the water, and then turn around and go somewhere else, and didn't because there was a guy standing there. I don't think it would have to be a creepy person either. Maybe I think it's just a woman and then there's a guy. You're probably not going to want to go near the guy if you're out in the middle of the woods. If it was a girl sitting there, she might have kept going out on the bridge and turned around. But I don't think it was like, oh my God, it creeped her out. I mean, that would just be totally assuming that, oh, it creeped. I mean, I guess any guy there would creep you out, right? A woman. If you're on a trail alone and you see a guy up in front of you, and he's standing on a little narrow bridge right where you're about to go, you know, you're probably going to turn around and leave. But she made it all the way to the bridge, right? So why didn't she turn around before? Because she could see him out there. She probably just had a little routine that she does. Walk to the bridge, then go over there and had it all measured out. Something like that. It's not a big deal. I just didn't know what you were saying. Yeah, well, we don't know if he had his face covered because she didn't say she saw that. And he doesn't have his face covered in the video of Abby and Libby. He might have had it covered when he was walking down the trails. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you can see fish despite what this other YouTube channel said. Yeah, I mean, if you're on that bridge and you look down and there were fish down there, you'd be able to see them. That's the truth. Okay, it's only 60 feet down. If you have, I mean, we've seen the video. You can see right into the water. Yeah, I think Richard Allen had some kind of knowledge. Oh, you don't live in the U.S. Yeah, that's all right. What about the DNA on hair not matching? Yeah, but you guys, we have PayPals on all those things out there. But we definitely need to get the ball rolling tonight because we are absolutely getting crushed. With 342 people watching, should be easy. We have a nightly goal that we try to get to, and we're currently not even close to halfway, if you can believe that. So if you have the ability to, and you can support the channel, that'd be great. Because I rely on you guys. There is a very little ad revenue on these shows. I think one of the shows made $20 one time. But you guys are it. There is, when I make videos, they do well on their own standalone, but I'm taking the time to do the shows, so I don't have another option. You know, that's why sometimes I end the show so I can go make a video really quick to try to make up the difference of the loss. And people get upset about that, but it's like, I've got to do it, you know. So this is starting to look like one of those nights. Yeah, there's always some answer. Let's see. Hair not matching. Yeah, it means nothing. Yeah. If you made your hands wet and you fell on the ground somewhere on a trail, or you're near other people, a hair could just end up in your hand. It doesn't mean a damn thing. It would have helped if there was a hair that matched, but having a hair that doesn't match doesn't hurt the case. There's just hair all over the place. Like the sweatshirt, for example, I think it was wasn't the hair in Abby's hand? Right. So the hair was in Abby's hand, and she had been redressed with a sweatshirt, and all of that was pulled over her hands at one point, and she had to put them on. So of course, if it could be Libby's hair, it could be a friend of Libby's, it could be, it just a dog or a cat, anything. I'm not making any situation out of the hair. I think it's absolutely meaningless. Prosecution brought it up there just to throw another little nugget out there for his whack job followers. I've never seen a case where you had so many people that are almost like it's a cult. It's almost like a cult of people that want a child killer to go free. I think even if they found out that yes, he did it, they try to look for a way to get him off, just like his attorneys are doing. His attorneys know that he is the killer, but they're trying all they can to get him off. And at some point, I feel like that's kind of disturbing, I don't think they believe in his innocence at all. And I think they know he's not innocent. And I think the judge knows that they know he's not innocent. And that's why she tried to get them off the case, because he wasn't helping they weren't helping Richard Allen's cause. Now they're just trying to get him off on something that they know he did. That's the scary part about it. I think there's information that we haven't heard that absolutely even just nails it. And it's probably information that the defense would never want to put out there in the public, and the prosecution isn't going to leak it. And so you're going to, they kept everything really under wraps. The prosecution did. Almost all the leaks that you've seen, the major ones, have come from the defense team. Man, do I have to throw myself in prison tonight, you guys? We've been frozen for 25, 30 minutes now again on Facebook, and I question who they are. Seen who? Well, this account, I'm sure I was mean to somebody. If they don't appear, they are being deleted, huh? Yeah. I could try opening up the lines in a bit, but I'm going to have to make a decision whether or not to wrap this up. So we are not even halfway. I get the feeling he doesn't have a lot going on. It's weird, too, because it always happens when I do like a call-in or something like that. It's kind of strange, and it never recovers. Yeah, it's one hair, Dom404. It didn't mean a damn thing. I know you want it to, but yeah. All right, I'll say it again, everybody. If you guys can please help support the channel. That's all we have on this channel is the support from you guys. We're not even close to reaching the goal tonight. If you have the ability to, it'd be great if you could do it, because we've done it last night, the night before, etc. And tonight is going to set back all the other nights because we're that far behind. I know what it takes. Yeah, they have videos all over the place. I have videos that's all they would need to look at. I have a video that goes right down the trail to the bridge. Then I got one that goes all the way across the bridge. Then they've probably done a video from the back of the bridge down and across. They have tons of videos. It's all there. Thanks, Allie Cake. Crying for a wave. Giving it a shot. Will it happen? Yeah, of course they know. Wow, that's weird, Zaza. Do you think they will do a field trip? No, they're not. They've already, they're not doing that. So Allie Cake's going for a wave. Yep, there's Michelle H. Oh, and there's Aga. Oh, see. Aga. Agaga. Aga. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what do you think the biggest problems in the case that I would say are probably Betsy Blair and what she might say and how sure she seemed to be. And then you could go with like Sarah Carbaugh and, you know, if it's true that originally she didn't say muddy and bloody, when did it come to the point where, when did she switch it to muddy and bloody? Because here's what's really interesting, you guys. I did a show on this a while back where you remember the 2019 press conference? It's really interesting if you look back at it. Hey, thanks, David Mock. Very cool. Look at that. The first super on a live stream. Okay, well, that's, thank you. I appreciate it. If you go back to the 2019 press conference and you just think about it, he went out there and he said, you know, I think that's the one where he was talking about the, you know, the book, The Cabin, or whatever the hell it's called. And then he was talking about, we want to know who the driver of the vehicle that was parked at the abandoned CPS building. Here's some more video. Here's the video, I mean. And also we're going to add guys to Down the Hill. We got that. And here's a new sketch, a new direction. And I think they were really believing at the time that Keegan Kline, and they were trying to maybe associate that with somebody associated with Keegan Kline's account at the time, because they didn't know. But they wanted to know who the driver of the vehicle was that was parked at the abandoned CPS building. And guess what? Richard Allen is the guy that they were looking for. Once they went and looked through the tip narratives and found him, he's the guy that parked at an old building at 1:30. And that's exactly where he parked. And he got out and he walked and he was seen. And then he was seen at 1:35 by the three girls. Then he's seen again by Betsy Blair. Then the next people that are going to see him are Abby and Libby. We just can't talk to them to see what they saw. But that's the only way to go, unless he jumped off the bridge, okay? Or went through the woods for some unknown reason. Mm-hmm. And then he left, and then when he crossed the bridge in the video, that's a 43-second long video, at some point, he pulls a gun out. Even Abby says, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. And pulls out a gun. He cycles a bullet and then tells them down the hill. Or, you know, down the hill, then cycles the bullet. However it worked. Then he takes him across the creek, or even down below. They said he was interrupted. So perhaps he was trying to assault them. Something happened. And he said he panicked and then he killed them. But I think he was going to kill them regardless, and I don't think he ever panicked. He might have just hurried things up, but I think he was always going to kill them. Why would he let somebody go? I mean, why would you kill out of panic when, I mean, he's just saying that to sort of make it feel second-degree murder-ish, you know? Oh, I just panicked, you know, I didn't plan to kill anybody, I was just, you know. And then, while he's at the crime scene, after he killed them, he likely ejected the bullet from the gun to clear the chamber, and then it flew out and it hit the ground, because, you know, when you rack it back, the bullet kind of pops out, And it probably went on the ground. He couldn't find the damn thing because there's sticks and leaves everywhere. So then he leaves, and he probably wasn't even nervous about it because he was probably like, you know what? Hell, I didn't shoot that bullet. I just ejected it. He probably didn't realize that there was a science of ejected bullets. And then when they went to the crime scene, when the bodies were found and they found the bullet, they had the bullet for years. They had the bullet from day one. They had it. And then they arrest, after getting the tip and finding that Richard Allen was there, by Dan Doolin interviewed him, and Richard Allen was there. I think Richard Allen, when he was on the trail originally, he passed the 4 girls. He only remembers seeing 3 because one of them was little. He only saw, he passed those girls, and he thought, wow. After the killings, he probably thought, you know what? One of them might recognize me because I work at CVS Pharmacy and I'm visible. People see me. And even if it was just that, he would probably want to come forward and let people know he was there just in case somebody pointed him out at a different time. But it could also be that because only 2 days after the murders, they released an image. By the way, thanks Plato, Tracy Harrison, David Mock, Aga Gaga, and Michelle H. So only 2 days after the homicides, they released images of, or one image. There was actually 3 still images that they released. One of them is more rare, where both feet are on the ground. But they eventually found the clearest of the 2, and there was 2 other ones they released. So there's 3 total. And I even made a walk cycle out of the 3 that were available, and it looked pretty good. I mean, it wasn't too bad, but I mean, it's pretty crappy really, but didn't look too bad for what it was. Then I think that when that image came out, it's possible that he saw that and he goes, oh my God, 3 girls saw me there. Also, I'm seen on camera. So he gets a hold of Dan Doolin, meets up with him, and Dan Doolin is interviewing him, and he's like, yeah, I got there at 1:30, because he's trying to be accurate because he knows he's on camera, and he didn't know what the camera shot was from. He probably thought it was like a trail camera or something. And so, but he didn't say that to Dan Doolin. He just wanted to see what they knew. So he's kind of like checking in with Dan Doolin to see where everything's at. And he said, yeah, I got there from 1:30. Left at 3:30. I saw 3 girls when I came in. I walked down the trails and I was looking at and I went to the bridge and I was looking at stock ticker. Okay, well that can be proven too. I would think he wouldn't have brought his phone with him. So if it turns out that they can't find a ping of his phone near the bridge during any of that time, then that means he lied about that element of the ping as he's looking at his stock tickers. So he tells the guy, yeah, I was there, and he saw the 3 girls, and then I think he gave him his phone, and he got like the EMIE number, whatever the hell it is, off the phone, and then other notes that Dan Doolin wrote were, who are those 3 girls? Very, very good thinking there. Instead, you're actually looking at the killer, the guy that said he was there during the... didn't you think to ask what he was wearing? I mean, you already knew that the image was out because at the press conference that was there, you already had the image. So you would think you would ask Richard Allen on the first one, what were you wearing? And he would have said, well, I was wearing light blue jeans, a dark blue or black Carhartt jacket, with a hoodie with some sort of head covering. That's what he would have said. And I just think he was trying to get ahead of it. And guess what? He went home and he thought, oh man, God, I don't know. Are they gonna... And he sat around for 5 freaking years wondering why in the hell there was never a follow-up when he basically placed himself there at the crime scene. You see what I'm saying? And so what happened is those 5 years he felt like he was living on borrowed time, and he just really wasted away, kind of like Gollum and the ring in Lord of the Rings, or Schmeagol, who turned into Gollum. you know, he basically, at first, he was normal-ish looking, you know, in 2017. And then he just sort of withered away into nothing, like these soulless eyes and just kind of a wacko. And I think that's it. So there you go. Yeah, what do you mean, what's his motive? Well, why do any of those guys have motives? They're just sexual predator. Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you say, what's the motive of, you know, Ed Kemper or Jeffrey Dahmer or, you know, anybody? It's like, I don't know. I mean, how do you really explain it? What are you guys talking about? Well, I don't think he's going to be on the stand, Zozo. Why would he be on the stand? I mean, that'd be a shot in the dark. If everything was collapsing, they might put him up on the stand. But, I mean, that's almost a given. They never, I mean, it's so rare to put a person like him up on the stand, especially in a case like this. See, this case is going to be a circumstantial case based on forensic information, right? So the bullet being at the scene, that looks, it has the same ejection marks as his gun. That might, you know, that is forensic information that suggests that a bullet, you know, strongly suggests that a bullet from his own gun, a gun that apparently was used because Abby says he's got a gun. So there was a gun that was involved in the crime in terms of controlling the girls. All right, we're at 50% now, you guys. 50%. Let's see. Oh, thank you to Anne and Danita on PayPal. Is his wife going to in the courtroom? I think so. There's a pretty big witness list. I have a bunch of the initials. Yeah, I don't think I can show them or whatever. But apparently, the daughter's testifying for the defense team. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if her name is on the other side. I think we talked about that last night, didn't we? Mm-hmm. I don't think he can take. Well, there's no way he's going to take the stand. I don't know, because I actually think that the tip came in from the daughter or the, I don't know. And that seems like a pretty good, it was good information. So I don't know what's going on with that. It could be that she's on both sides, so I don't know. Because some witnesses are listed for both sides. I don't know if she's on the other side, but I mean, you know, there's really good information about how it was like either the daughter's fiance said something, and that led to looking at the tip narrative again. And there it is. I mean, it could have been as simple as, yeah, man, my father-in-law said he was even out there that day on the tip line, and he's kind of creepy, you know? And then they're like, well, what's his name? And they go look through and find it, and they read it, and they're just stunned when they see that he was there the whole time. Then they bring him in, and guess what? He says, yep, I was wearing light blue jeans, dark blue or black Carhartt jacket, with a hoodie underneath and some sort of head covering, which is exactly what the guy is wearing in the video. Maybe he'll still testify on the prosecution side. I don't know. Yeah, he confessed over 60 times. How long have I been on here? Alright, well, alright, you guys. I'm going to call it a night. So, thank you to Wendy Van Rokel. We didn't even make it 50%, sadly. Elaine Talling, Cheryl Bullock, Will Puppy Paws, Michelle H., This Account, Georgina Stoliker, Allie Kick, Cheryl, Pizza Monster, Tamara, Shells 76, This Account, Kathy Fradmaker, Pizza Monster, Dana 1972, Lil Puppy Paws, N-Bell, This Account, Annabella Roma, Plato, N-Bell, Tracy Harrison Sass, David Mock, Allie Cake, Michelle H., Aga Gaga, David Mock, Tracy Harrison Sass, and Plato. And thanks, Plato, for calling in and telling us how the day went. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys later. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.
Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector, flag rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Grader's gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pup protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a specter with a vector on his pector. With all respect, y'all, just remember I've a temper fucking check ya. I have no agenda, I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody? Talk to you.